I plan to talk about at least 40 research and how we use our research or the worldwide research in our daily practice, and how we can improve ourselves to change our life and change the trajectory of memory loss or dementia. Now, the brain health is very much a balance between our physical and cognitive activity, sleep, oxygen, and nutrition. Now, what happens when there is a nutritional deficiency, medical disease, which overcomes these or unbalance this balance, and then we are in trouble. Then what happens is there is epigenetics, which you guys know about, the interaction of the human genes changing the trajectory of the disease process or expression of the gene into a phenotype by epigenetics. To understand this, we want to understand what is Alzheimer's disease, how we understand and how we interpret Alzheimer's disease. To understand that, very simple, this was a study done on 916 twins, and out of that 30% of the twins monozygotic and almost 35% were dizygotic twins. They were kept apart and they were followed for a long time. It was a very interesting observation. We found that when they grow up, the onset of dementia or Alzheimer's disease was difference between 4 years to almost 14 years or 16 years. It's very unusual when you have a same gene and you are monozygotic twins, then why there is a difference in the onset of Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Now, this is how the Alzheimer's disease, all the research started. Now, to understand again the Alzheimer's disease, there are two types. The type 1, which is an early onset, is only caused by 4 of the genes, which is APP, apoprotein, and then presenilin and polymorphism of ApoE4. That's less than 1% of the population. Obviously, as I said, it's only 45 to its onset is only 45 to age 50, so we don't have to worry about that. We already passed that age. Now, the next one, which is the curse we have, is the aging curse, where this is called late onset Alzheimer's disease, we call it LODE in our practice. Again, this is also associated with the chromosome 14, and now we found there is a chromosome 14 also has been related with that. But again, everybody has a ApoE4, which is obviously is a cholesterol transport protein we have, which is called apolipoprotein E. Now, apolipoprotein E, everybody has 2 genes, or sometimes they have 4 genes, but the gene expression was not directly related with the conversion of Alzheimer's disease with our studies. So this is again a very interesting observation. Now, this is where the Alzheimer's disease epigenetics takes place, where the epigenetics is where, again, we defined earlier, where the gene interacts with the environment or some other factor which turns on the phenotypic gene expression. Now, DNA methylation, histone modification, chromatin remodeling, and regulation by a non-coding RNA has been described in research and literature with Alzheimer's disease. Demyelination, this is the very most important part, where we make our neuron methylation at the 5 position of the cytosine base, which is called, we call it 5MC. Now what happens is, this is the neuronal development. It takes place since the childhood till we grow old, where the methylation is the donation of the methyl group to the cycle of DNA, where we are making and forming the normal body function. And where this disease goes wrong, which is called DNA methylation. I want you to understand this is a very simple way. Now let's go back to another study. This study explained how a general disease process in the population affecting and our trajectory or gene expression of Alzheimer's disease. Now everybody knows, and everybody must have heard of methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, and this the variant of this disease, which is, one is a C677T polymorphism, and then there are other A and the C polymorphism, which are related with the chromosome 1. It's very interesting that the variant is present almost 50% in the population, 10 to 15% in Caucasian population, more than 25% in Latino population. But what about Indians or Asian Indians? This is present almost 18 to 38% in an Asian population, much more in the north compared to the south. This was found in the India. Now this is where the double circle of this, where the methionine is converted into a homocysteine, and homocysteine back to where the SAM, which is S-adenylyl SAH, donates the methyl group, and then the folate further helps. Now there are 4 things to notice about this chain reaction: that vitamin B6, vitamin B12, the folic acid, SAM. So these are the major factor, and the vitamin B12. These are the major factor to keep our brain healthy and let the methylation or methyl donation take place, where our brain cell stays healthy. Now, dysregulation of DNA methylation have a stronger effect. In fact, 28.7% on the onset of Alzheimer's disease, compared to ApoE4 and all the gene combined, the risk factor is only 13.9%. So this is a very strong association of that. Now, polymorphism again has been described in other things, where cystathione lyase gene as well as the other chromosome gene can play an important role affecting the pathway of homocysteine and cystathionuria. Now, mRNA overexpressed enhanced neuronal apoptosis also has bin described in literature. These are all a different kind of mutations we see in MHTF. It occurs in almost 10 to 15% of the population. Now, a study shows, let's go back to identical twins with the Alzheimer's disease. The prognosis and onset of Alzheimer's disease can differ by more than 10 years. Twin and history of systemic infection developed Alzheimer's disease at the early onset. Again, lifestyle, diet, infection, folate status, vitamin B12, B6, SAM, homocysteine status or toxic exposure, physical activity, and the sleep, everything can turn on this gene expression. That's what we are trying to determine, and this is how we approach the disease process now. Again, same thing we talked about. These are the study which has been done and shows how age is related in the epigenetic drift. Now, epigenetic drift is again the expression of the epigenetic gene into turning the switch on the expression of the phenotype of gene is called epigenetic drift. Now, increased homocysteine level, hypertension, and THY, The one study I want to quote up here is very important, is the Framingham heart study. A lot of people must have heard of that. Now, Seshadri and colleague, they went and specifically looked for that, where a raised homocysteine above 14 millimole, micromole has a double risk of a LOD, load, which is Alzheimer's disease. At the period of 8 years, they looked at this study. Again, there was another study which looked for more than 46,000 subjects, confirmed association between homocysteine level and cognitive deficit or dementia. Now, non-genetic effects, hyperhomocysteinemia. We know that hyperhomocysteinemia can happen in advanced aging, diet, supplementation of vitamin B, obstructive sleep apnea, smoking, Helicobacter pylori infection, and renal failure. Now, genetic polymorphism we talked about before with the hyperhomocysteinemia, ApoE4, now decrease in SAM-dependent synthesis. So all these factors are present which can cause hyperhomocysteinemia, which can cause destruction of or the apoptosis of a neuron in the process, and making the beta amyloid and the plaques as well as entangles in the Alzheimer's disease process. Now, just to change little, do you know what is the relation between Papa John and Uncle Sam? Okay, let's change this. You guys have practiced here for how long? 40 years. Now, you know, when the patient comes to me and says, I want this tablet, I want this, I want that, do you know? Then I say, you are a Democrat. Okay, the reason is they want everything. Okay, so this want process, which starts in the childhood, in the process means every kid born is a Democrat. Okay, so now what is Uncle Sam? When these people get dependent on Uncle Sam, okay, this is what this relation is. Now, let's go back here. I just want to change subject here, political development of the brain. Okay, so birth to a school given obviously 0 to 18 years, they want. Everything is given to them. They want from the dad, they want from a mom, okay, they want from the teacher, they want from the school, okay, they want it. And then school to college, now what the college does is stamps, now you are a definite Democrat. They are teaching that now. Anyway, now what happens here is when they start getting the first paycheck, you know, they think that is entitlement now. Kind of a little switch over. And what happens when they have some saving, they are trying to invest and make money in the stock, bond, or opening business. Now they turn into a Republicans. Okay, so what happens here is if you have too much of money, then you're corrupt. And the corruption goes back to, but anytime when you drop from the school, from the college, or from the system, here up here, you become an entitlement socialism. That's what we see now. Okay, this is a very simple development of how the brain has not changed from the beginning, from the want, and how easy the brain goes back to the want.